Hi, mamas. Welcome to the Mama Genius Preneur podcast. I'm so excited for today, and I have a story for you. You've spent years building your career, maybe even climbing the ladder, and now something feels off. You've changed, but your job hasn't. You've caught yourself daydreaming during preschool pickup or folding laundry. Can I really start over? What would they say if I walked away from this path? But deep down, you know it's about starting over. It's about finally stepping into the business, mission, or calling that's been waiting for you. In this episode, we're talking about what happens when you stop worrying what other people think and start creating the life that feels like yours. We'll get started right after this. Mamas, welcome to the Mama Genius Preneur podcast, where real stories spark real transformations for moms ready to bring their visions to life. I'm Michelle DeKaiser, a mom of three, entrepreneur, and your biggest cheerleader if you've ever felt pulled to create something bigger, whether it's a business, a book, or a movement, but also felt the weight of daily life slowing you down. You are not alone. In just 15 minutes, we'll dive into insights, strategies, and real stories for women like you. Let's bring your visions to life, starting now. I'm so honored to have Shannon Russell here, a career transition and business coach, speaker, and author of Your Second Act, to how to change careers, launch a business, and create your best life after a 16-year career in television. She pivoted to entrepreneurship and now empowers women to leap into their purpose-driven work they love. She also hosts the Second Act Success Career podcast, where she shares stories and strategies for women ready to change their lives. Let's talk about that change today. Welcome to the stage, Shannon. I'm so excited to have you today.
Oh, Michelle, thanks so much for having me. I'm so looking forward to our conversation.
I feel like we just got on and we're like, okay, we immediately like in the same page, like really talking about that leap, talking about doing things a little bit differently. I mean, your path was a little bit different than me. You had that job. I went from education to stay at home, and then like, what do? I'm not going back to education. And here we both are in this entrepreneur realm. And so just tell us a little bit about your path before we dive into really talking about how we do that.
Yeah, so I went from my dream career as a television producer for so many years in New York and LA. And then I had kids, and then everything started shifting. And I just had this come to Jesus epiphany moment where I said, you know what? I don't want to miss another birthday. I don't want to be working these long hours and traveling anymore. And that's when I realized, let me figure out how to produce my own life and take my skills and experience and start a business. And so I launched my first business was a franchise I ran for 8 years before successfully selling it last year. And then a couple years into that, I decided to help other women and start coaching women to do the same and start their second act.
I just focused on those words, produce my own life. I was like, I just want those listening to let that ring in a little bit. I mean, literally you're a TV producer going to that. And now it's like really time to take ownership and really start producing what it is that you want. So, I mean, thinking about a mom who's feeling that pull, because I mean, that's what we talk about, is who I really call to this really is for me, it was always like washing the dishes and going like, is this it? Yeah. Or for some of you who are in that career, something might be like, can I make that change? And so that's why I brought you on, because that's a little bit different of a take on it. But it's like, how do we go listen to that and start? Where do we even start?
Yeah, we start with having that conversation. And as moms, we don't turn inward and ask ourselves if we're okay, or are we happy, or are we feeling fulfilled? But it's finding that one moment in your day, even if it's once a week, to just turn inward and say, how am I doing? And is this really what I want to be doing? And maybe it is, but what else is there? So yeah, just turning inward, having that conversation, and then seeing where it leads. And those conversations with ourselves can lead to us figuring out what it is we want to do next. But I think that's the most important part, is just having that conversation with ourselves.
I mean, that's so true. And I like to always say, like, especially as moms, we hide behind that busyness of it all. And we let all the tasks that we're doing with the kids, our husbands, our families, and like, I mean, I even think it's almost Easter coming up. I'm like thinking about like all the Easter activities, all those things, and the holidays just keep rolling around. And like, there's always that excuse.
Yes. There's always something to be done, and time will fly. And I'll speak with a lot of women who are like, you know what? I have to take care of everyone else. I'll worry about me when the kids are out of the house or when it's retirement, or put it off, put it off, put it off. And I just like to remind everyone that you can do it now. And we get one life to live. You don't want to regret not trying something new later on. And my whole goal and my mission is to help women do it in a way that doesn't cause that chaos in their life. And it can be done very strategically and methodically when you have someone to help and you're doing it with a plan in place and not just saying, well, I quit, and trying to cross your fingers to start something new.
Let's see if it works. Let's see if it works. Let's see if it works. I know I'll be honest, I've done that for a little while right now with my own business. And sometimes, but it's also, I love how you're saying that, because as women, we have these inner callings and things, and then we suppress them. And that can lead also, I've noticed myself as well, to those inner like problems of like stomach issues or stress or of tension, just like you don't even know where it's coming from, but it's really coming from not listening to your own desires.
Yeah. Or that sometimes like secret resentment, right? You can resent the family or the kids or your situation, where really you have the control to make that change, whether it's one small baby step or, finding a side hobby. If you really enjoy writing or art or music or, listening to podcasts, like finding that time for yourself, those 15 minutes that are for you, helps you start to see the world in a bigger picture and be more of a fulfilled mom.
I love how you put that. I was just sitting on that, seeing the world in a bigger picture, right? And I have to link it back to your movie days. Because you think about the producing and you think about, like, you can see that in a show. Like, you're like, I know what's going to happen by the end of the show, right? And so you can think about that production and that type, but like you said, we're going to go back to producing your own life. Like, what do you want that end to look like?
Right.
You are the only one that has control over that. And we'll talk more about that in just a moment. Are you a mompreneur who feels a fire to create something bigger, a business, a movement, a message, but you don't want to do it alone? That's why I've created the Mama Genius Hub, a space where your vision is nurtured, your voice is heard, and your dreams grow alongside a supportive community. Inside the hub, you'll get bite-sized insights and strategies in 15-minute sessions. A community of like-minded moms who truly get it. Support to bring your vision to life without burnout. If ready to build your business and impact while staying true to yourself, join us today at connectingmamas.com. Your calling matters. Let's grow it together. So I really want to dive into practicalities. We kind of talked a little about the mindset and the why of like why people might want to do it, or how to even identify if you're feeling this way. And so we kind of, you touched on the idea of first having that conversation going inward. What would you say is the next step after that point?
I think if you're thinking whether it's changing careers or starting a business or just finding that hobby, should we say, that would give you that little bit of light to make you happier, more excited about your days, I think it's really taking a pad and pen and writing down a list of all of your skills, everything that you do currently or you've done in the past in your career. Even as a stay-at-home parent, we do so much. So you can write down everything that you do: budgets, organizing, scheduling, writing lesson plans if you're a homeschooling parent, whatever it is. Write down those skills that you've done in your career over all of these years, and then start to think about that thing that's been brewing in your head, that idea for a business, that idea for something new in your second act, and see what correlates. And the important thing is to, when you're looking at your list of skills, I often advise my clients to make sure that you cross out things that you no longer want to do, because when we're starting a second act, we can be a little choosy, right? We want to make sure that we're headed in a direction that is going to fulfill us and that we're not just feeling the same way in a new role. So then look and see what correlates. And that's when you start to get that confidence of saying, wow, I've really done so many things, and this part of me is coming with me as I start this new venture. So you're not losing your identity. You're not starting from scratch. You're adding on to your lifelong resume, if you will, and just starting a new adventure that's going to fill you up a little bit more than where you are right now.
I love that so much. And I was thinking the same thing too, is that you do have that ability now to cross things out. Like you can look at those skills and then decide which ones you did because you were good at, not because you like doing. And I
Yes.
love when, especially when we talk about genius, because, we're in the Mama's Genius Pub, we're really looking at those things that light us up that we are good at. And sometimes we settle for the ones that we're just good at doing.
Yeah.
And I think that that's how we end up in a lot of our the careers or things that we're doing is when we do that and we don't really focus on trying to figure out, and it might take a little bit of time and thought process to really figure out what does light me up.
Yeah.
But once you put that question into your RAS, as we've talked about, your activating system before, it opens up to the possibilities. And I think I love how you're talking about all this. And I think it's just that start of really starting with that list and seeing what possibilities that list opens up. Okay, so we've got our list now. We're starting to cross off, or we're looking at the possibilities. Where do we go next?
I would say learn before you leap, right? Do that research because you are being choosy. You're figuring out what it is you want to do next, and it's an adventure. So a lot of times clients will come to me with multiple ideas of a business to start or what they want to do next. And then we go through each and we do the research to see what the day-to-day of someone who's running a similar business or is in a similar role is doing. And does that fit what you're really looking for? And sometimes it doesn't. And that's actually a really great thing because then you can check that off. You can say, okay, that is not for me. Let's whittle down that list until you find that one thing that is encompassing your past and what you want your future to be. And then we can really start working towards that. And it can be, if it is a business, there's so much you can do while you're still in your current situation, and what I like to do is, sadly, we have to dive into our finances. We have to see how much longer do we need that paycheck before we pivot? And then really making that schedule to get you from where you are to where you want to be. And then it really becomes a reality. And you get more confident as you do that research and you see that this can really be my next venture.
I love that so much. And learn before you leap. And just looking at that idea of doing that learning and taking those 15, and how we always say a 15-minute pocket time, just taking each of those ideas and learning more. And I love how you put the idea of looking at someone who's already doing that and maybe having a conversation with them, or something that really helps you see does what they're doing light me up? Because it's easy to see the end results of what someone's going, I want that.
Yes.
But are you willing to do what it took for them to get there?
And does it fit in our life now too,
Yeah.
Michelle, right? Like, does it fit? Because as we're choosing, we want to think about our priorities and our non-negotiables and say, if we want to be there to pick up the kids after school, we don't want to create a business where we're working all through the evening. So just to keep that in mind too, because the idea of a second act is that it does fit into our lives where we are now.
On that note, I hate that we're running out of time, but tell everyone how they can get a hold of you.
Yes, absolutely. I have a new book out called Start Your Second Act. You can go to startyoursecond.act.com, and there's a free resource. There's info on the book and ways to work with me and my podcast and all of that.
And I'm putting some of the free resources in the comments right now, as I always forget, but I'm remembering.
That's great.
And we're going to throw you backstage for just a moment and go through some of the takeaways. We had quite a few. We'll be right back with Shannon. Wow, such takeaways. First of all, number one, I love the line, just produce my own life. What can you do to start thinking about how you want that production? I mean, think about all the movies you watched. What do you want that story to look like? You get to decide. That leads us to number two now. If you start thinking about that, having those conversations with yourself, going inward and really asking yourself, what do you desire? Where do you want it to go? What do you want that production to look like? And then that gives us to number three, which is thinking about, if you don't do it, you might be in that regret. You might have that secret regret and not feeling like you have that you can do anything about, but you really ultimately have the control to make that new decision, to decide what you want to do, decide how you want to do it, which leads us into number four, which is really about, I'm trying to read my own notes really quickly. Every once in a while I do get a little messed up, but it's really about getting that light now and figuring out what is inside of you, what is that genius inside of you, and really starting to figure out what is that list of skills that you have. So I love how she just told us to make a list of all the skills that you've done in the past, and then where all the skills you've done as a parent and everything, and start merging through and deciding which ones light you up. And then that leads us to number 5 is once you figured some of those out, start to learn before you leave and start learning what others are doing who are using those skills. Start seeing what their day-to-day life looks like and seeing if that fits into your life right now and the second act that you want. Bring Shannon back. Wow. Okay. I got a little tongue-tied there, but what's your final takeaway for all of us?
Yeah, I think everything you said, that is the way to start. And just give yourself grace and know that you're worthy to think about yourself. It's not a selfish act. It's thinking about ways that you can show up better in the world and be your best self.
I want to end with that. It's not a selfish act, coming from the TV producer.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Shannon, for joining us today, and we'll see you all in the next episode. That's a wrap for today's episode, Mama. I hope you found something in these 15 minutes that sparked action towards your dreams. Remember, your purpose matters, your dreams are valid, and you are not alone. If today's conversation spoke to you, come join us at the Mama Genius Hub, where you'll find support, strategy, and sisterhood to turn your calling into real impact. Let's grow this together at connectingmamas.com. And before you go, don't forget to subscribe so you'll never miss an episode. If this resonates with you, share it with another mompreneur who needs to hear this. We'll see you next time.